The response to Assassin's Creed Shadows is starting to settle a bit, and I think it's a good time to give my 2 cents. We'll go over what I saw happening on social media, my take on it, and what we can learn from it. What I saw was a lot of conflict and accusations of racism, but I feel like a lot of it might have been a mishandling of expectations. It's not a wild assumption to think that a game about ninjas and samurai would have you play as a Japanese protagonist. Not everyone knows who Yasuke is, and historically speaking, he's an outlier. And let's be honest, the majority of people don't want an accurate depiction of the day-to-day life of a shogun and the humdrum of medieval life anyways. They want the action movie. Exciting and mostly bullshit depictions of Bushido on full display. And that's fine. It's fiction. That's the point. Japanese people are not immune to this either. But having an expectation of what you want and then seeing something that is contradictory to all the media imagery and perception that's been fed to you does not make you racist. What makes you a racist is when you talk from a place of ignorance and make dumbass comments like this one. The questioning of Yasuke's authenticity as a samurai was definitely leaning on the side of prejudice. It's fine to have an aspect of history confuse you, but it's not fine to claim something is incorrect based on your preconceived notions of history. Who was Yasuke? Well, if you don't know, go find out. Was he a samurai? Are you sure you know what a samurai is? What role they played in society? What era are you even talking about? Being unwilling to learn makes you a jackass, but fighting on the grounds that a character's race would exclude them from status when it's historically untrue makes you a fool. Is Yasuke the exception in this historical case? Yeah. But that's what makes him notable. The fact that there is mystery around his life in Japan is great for the fictional aspect, but what we do know is that he was witness to some of the feats and death of Oda Nobunaga, which is in line for the franchise. But one should speak on what they know. If your basis for a contrary position starts and ends with a person's skin color or continent of origin, then that does make it racist when it goes against the facts. I think it's also racist when someone says, get your own African Assassin's Creed game, because there's already been one. We're talking about fiction here, and the regulating of certain character races to determine locations in fiction exemplifies the sentiment that certain peoples belong in certain places. It feels that accuracy is being employed for convenient purposes. My personal experience is with Assassin's Creeds 1 through 4 and the games adjacent to them. I really liked each of them, but felt like by 4 the formula had played itself out, and the best part of that game were the ship battles. Subsequent titles didn't really hold my interest. Once the games moved to an RPG-like model, I grew less interested as I felt it was already suffering from bloat before. But I did put in some time into Odyssey, and after a little bit kind of fell off. Assassin's Creed has always had the player bear witness to history and participate on the sidelines. Except for when you killed the Pope. I'm sure there's other exceptions, but generally this is true. Ezio is friends with Da Vinci, Edward Kenway is buddies with Blackbeard, you get the idea. And of course there are fictitious narratives involving worldwide, history-spanning conspiracies and literally aliens. The idea of playing as an actual historical figure that was on the sidelines of a major historical event is both a step in an interesting direction and in keeping with the trend. I do feel like taking the step is risking whatever narrative leeway players are willing to, suspend their disbelief for, but I won't comment any further as not you nor I have played the game at the time of this video being published. Now, Japanese history is a common source for storytelling in and out of Japan, but what makes each take unique is the lens in which we look at the narratives. Ghost of Tsushima takes place during the first Mongol invasions of 1274. This game, as fantastic as it is filled to the brim with historical inaccuracies. For starters, Tsushima loses. Twice. It gets swept with such speed and efficiency the Mongols were historically known for. And what actually saves Japan is the famous Divine Wind, or kamikaze, what are thought to be typhoons that thrashed Mongol ships against the cliffs at Hataka Bay. But who cares? The gameplay is great. the story is competent and the world was engaging. While the setting and events were ahistoric, using the lens of Japanese samurai cinema washes all that away. But we understand it's historical fiction, so we can suspend our disbelief. It would seem that Assassin's Creed is attempting, this time, to meet you halfway. I think it's reasonable to be shocked, but also unreasonable to throw the game under the bus when no one has played it yet. And with the political and social climate being what it is, I can understand how it might feel like a forced representation moment if you're unaware of the history. I know who Yasuke is, but it's also not really fair, I think, to expect everyone to know that ahead of time. He's quite unique in history. I kind of feel like the strong reaction was overzealous. But the answer is to educate, not attack people for not knowing. Now, not everyone deserves that kind of grace. This comment doesn't. This one definitely doesn't. But why engage with them then? If they really are racist and are trying to drum up reactions and anger, then is just calling them a racist accomplishing anything? It might feel good to ridicule and mock them publicly, but it actually empowers them. Is it not better to provide the rational, logical side of things? We can already predict how these people react to things. They drum up anger, confusion, and that leads to death threats and harassment of staff and creators who don't deserve it. That's the real cost of giving these cretins attention that they have actually now monetized. Cooler heads prevail, and I hope that this project, like any other artistic endeavor, achieves its goals. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.